I'm Larry Butel. As you know, my parents have both passed away here in the last year and a half, and we had the task of cleaning out their basement of their house before it was sold. In the process, there was old mementos from the Overbrook area that we thought should be shared with other people around the area, not only from my family and my parents, but also his parents and a little bit even of his parents on back. So for 100 and some years worth of stuff here, mostly more recent. But anyway, I've got some stuff that's just kind of general Overbrook area and then some more school stuff and whatnot. But so this is kind of a highlight show of what we dug through, and there's more than this, but we'll hit the highlights. First, I've got a box of papers that were given to us. If anyone remembers Mr. Carpenter, Joe Carpenter was a retired school principal that lived in Overbrook for years and years, and he always gave away birdhouses and wood carvings to people. There was a note on the top of this box, and I said this had sat in the office as long as I could remember, and I'd never paid any attention to it. But he spent 4 weeks going through things he'd piled, and he saved stuff for his kids, and then there was things that he didn't want to give to his kids that he just passed out to people around town. And apparently my parents got a box of it and set it in the corner, and there it sat. So inside here, there are like commencement programs. From the top one here is from Overbrook High School of 1948, 1953, 1955, Eskridge High School, and then you scroll on down through here. There's some stuff from Emporia State Teacher College at the time, which I think he may have attended down there or else taught down there. I'm not sure which. Just kind of a mishmash of stuff in here, but it's too good to throw away. That's probably why he passed it to us. Here's a course of debate for high schools written by Joe Carpenter of Scranton that he kind of must have coached debate for a time. Story of the School of the Ozarks. I'm not sure how old that is, but it's the school down by Branson, and this is kind of a history book about that. Carbondale Centennial, 1972, that book was put out. Oh, some other stuff, I'm not sure what this is. And then there's a bunch of newspaper clippings in here. Kansas City Star. They're talking about heavy ice here. I'm not sure what year this is. 1936. And then there's a Kansas City Star here from 1939. I'm not sure what the significance of this is. I hadn't looked at it very closely. I know as you go down through here, there is things about there's clippings from when they lit on the moon, the moon landing. I did see those in here. Yeah, here's something about the moon pioneers from 1969. Pictures of them as they splash back down. And there's another clipping here from the moon landing. The Roy Rogers souvenir program from somebody went to see Roy Rogers. I don't know what year that was. Roy Rogers and Trigger. So anyway, and there's a little more. There's more stuff deeper in the box than that, but that's kind of the general gist. That's just kind of a mishmash of stuff that he kept and didn't want to throw away. So that's not even anything to do with my family other than it was just in our house. Then there's some other right over here, this pile. This was in Mom and Dad's basement, and they had saved this just a special section from the Topeka paper after the 68 tornado, or 66 tornado. So they're both the same, but I haven't looked through them very closely, but there's lots of pictures of the damage around Topeka area there. That if you were my age or older, you heard about it and you remember seeing the trees torn up in Topeka. Anyone much younger than middle 50s probably doesn't know much about it, but it was a big deal at the time. Okay, we've got other newspaper clippings. Let me grab these first here. There's lots of newspaper clippings. There's a whole pack of them over here that my grandfather had kept, and I didn't even go through to see what they all were. Here just happens to be, this one is a copy of the Overbrook Citizen from 1965, all about the Overbrook Fair. So it's got, my brother happens to be on the front page here, was a crown bearer for Miss Overbrook that was crowned that year. I guess he was a crown bearer. Anyway, he got his picture taken. Yeah, he was the crown bearer. But there's all kinds of pictures and stories in here about what was going on in the fair at the time, and it's kind of interesting to see anyway. But that's the whole newspaper edition of that day. We did come across this clipping here that was a Little League baseball team that my brother played on, and I'll quickly read the names that are in the picture. They will be familiar to anyone that's been around Overbrook very long. Doc Simmons, Kelly Wiscombe, Richard Jolly, David Jolly, Craig Martin, Curtis Sand, Kevin Reese, Barry Warren, Jeff McCullough, Jamie Jewell, Mike Shermer, John Butel. In third row, Coach Don Martin, manager Jim Jolly, and Coach John Jewell. And also Tony Fall, Mark Howard, Harlan Carruthers, Jimmy Goodyear, and Travis Wall were on the team but didn't make the picture. So that was from 1970. Just kind of a neat snip in time there. Most of those guys are still in the area too. Then that gets me on more to local school stuff. I've got a whole stack of alumni banquet programs from, I didn't even sort through them, but 50s, 60s, on further back than that, but a lot of them in the early 60s. I think my grandfather kept these, Floyd, when he was on the school board. I think is why most of these were kept. So there's a whole stack of those alumni banquet programs. And then we found a few old photographs, which were kind of neat. Here's two of a football team that my dad played on. I think he said he's the middle of the front row here. The sign on the back says front center. I think he'd be the littlest guy in the middle there. So I don't know what year that was, probably 1945 or 46, because he graduated in spring of 47. So Overbrook had a football team, and there they are in formation. I'm not sure what yeah, they were playing 11-man anyway. There's 11 in the picture. So that's football. And here was a picture of the track team at regionals. I can't tell if they're at KU or at Haskell, but it's a big stadium. It's not a high school stadium. And the names on the back of that picture are my father, John Butel, Darrell Howard, Don Talley, Dick Haas, O.C. Tharp, Don Forth, Benny Toucher, Gene Giffen, Darrell Howard. Okay. They got third in the meet in 1945 at the regional track meet, wherever that may have been held. But that's a picture of all those guys. Okay, and then I've got some pictures from District 74 school out at 165th and Croco, where my dad and his parents and grandparents would have gone to school. This is a picture of the class from 1912, grade school, and it's got the names on the back. I can't read them all, but it was my grandfather, Floyd, my Aunt Clara, my Aunt Eula, are all in this picture, and there's also some Kaufmans, there's a Barbie, there's a Radcliffe, some Coopers, a Randalls, Mrs. Skook, who was the teacher. So anyway, that's kind of a neat old picture. And that was an actual photograph. Then there's clippings from the Overbrook Citizen. This is one from District 74 of 1910. A little different era, but also I've got some relatives in here. There's a Dent Kaufman. There's my grandpa Floyd. There's a Hazlett, two Hazletts actually. Another Kaufman. Tragamba. My Aunt Eula. There's Clifford O'Brien, not the Cliff that's in town now, but it would, I suppose, I'm not sure how the relation would be. Probably a relation of some kind. There's a Calf, Edwin Calf, Branson, another Hazlett. So anyway, this is District 74 school from 1910. And here's another picture of District 74 in 1897. You can see how many kids were in there in that time versus when my dad graduated in 43. There was 2 in his class, but I didn't count the kids in this picture, but there's a whole lot more. A lot of the same last names in here. Butels, Caffs, Chamberlain, Hazlett, McClune is in there. So anyway, a lot of the same families that have been around here, but just it happened to be a different year. Okay, have a county graduation program from 1943, which was 8th grade graduations. I guess all the rural schools went together and had a county-wide graduation ceremony as they went on to high school. So Dad's got his name in here along with 109 other people that graduated from 8th grade that year in the county, and then went on to high school from there. Okay, and then we get a little more specific here. This is alumni banquet program from Overbrook Rural High School of 1921, and it lists all the graduates back to whenever the school was started in. Well, no, this only goes back to 1902. I'm sorry, but anyway, so just all the names that had passed through there. And here we have a graduation announcement that was actually my dad's from 1947 that shows the way the graduation announcements looked at that time. It seems to be a leather cover even, or maybe it's just heavy leather-like material anyway. It looks like leather, but it's probably not. And then I also happened to find Dad's high school diploma in there. So this is what an Overbrook diploma looked like in 1947. That's a picture of the school there, where the apartments are now. Overbrook Rural High School from 1947. And to compare that, we found my Aunt Eula Butel Perryman's high school graduation certificate from 1923. And that was a pretty large diploma that you got in those days, but that's the 1923 version of a high school diploma. And the Board of Education that signed it was a Clyde Kaufman, a Lloyd Kaufman, and a John Cooper. So some of the same names that were in District 74 out there, and of course the Kaufmans were the founders of Overbrook. Not these guys, but some of their ancestors. I can't read who the principal was at the time, but anyway, that was kind of neat to find all that. And this was something else, a 40-year reunion of the class of 23, so that was just some handwritten notes that Aunt Eula had. Okay. I think the library may have this book. It's called The Hill or Simmons Point. It's written by a girl that grew up out by the old stone house that fell down out by the microwave tower. I read it years ago. I don't remember the gist of it. It was a little girl that grew up there on the hill. Like this, it looks like this was actually my great-grandmother's book. Has her name in it from 1958. But I don't know if the library has this or not. It talks a lot about the Santa Fe Trail and living on the hill out there early in the century, or I'm not sure what year it would have been. But it says that stone house that fell down there, just flip to it, there's a page that says that stone house was built in 1870 that replaced a previous house that was up there. So anyway, like I say, I think maybe the library has that, but I'm not for sure that they do. I've seen it before. Okay, we also found a couple old cookbooks that the Methodist Church had put out. I know they've done several over the years, but this was one from 1950. And it looks more or less like a standard cookbook you'd find today, other than it does have some pictures of the submitters in there. But probably not a lot of difference. And it has some ads in the back of the businesses that were around at the time, a few of them. Or boosters anyway, that help pay for the publishing probably. So that was kind of neat, but then we also found this one, a cookbook from 1925 put out by the Methodist ladies, or the Methodist, what did they call them at the time? The Ladies' Aid Society of the Methodist Episcopal Church. So, it's got a lot of recipes in here. You would have to kind of know how to decipher them because there's not a lot of description on what to do with it. It kind of gives ingredients and then you go from there. But it's very thorough. There's a lot of recipes in there, and then it's also got ads in the back from the businesses at the time in Overbrook. So that's kind of a neat look at what was on Main Street at that time in 1925. Anyway, okay. Hand me one of those books there. My Aunt Eula, who was Eula Butel, and then she was Eula Perryman, lived at the corner of Market and Cedar, I believe, right where the road goes. Wayne Calf lives there now, next to Max Friesen's old house, where you would turn to go to the cemetery. Anyway, so she lived in that house for years, but she was a scrapbooker, and I did not know it until we started going through the basement. We had some of her old things. So this scrapbook, it's got some stuff out there growing up on the farm where my grandpa grew up, where Bob Ellis lives now. It's got some old pictures with some old cars there in the 20s and hanging out with friends. Got some, I don't know a lot of the names in here, but just kind of neat seeing the old pictures of the way they were dressed, and somebody back carrying a rifle that looks like dressed up like a soldier. Fisher, or whoever that was at the time. I think this is some classmates in some of these pictures of Eula's. She graduated a couple years after my grandpa had been, about 1923, I think. But that's pictures that she's got just growing up and living in those days. And then a little bit more of when she moved on to Topeka after that. This book here of hers, it's got swimsuit edition on the front page here. A bunch of ladies at they're in a swimming hole somewhere. And then, I don't know if that's like a senior trip or what it is. It looks like it's kind of their class getting together anyway. And just looks like maybe they took a trip here together. I can't tell for sure, but lots of pictures anyway. And those are some, there's some early family pictures of my grandpa and after he got married there, I see. Pictures from the 20s. And then, she's got some bunch of newspaper clippings in here from, I think, I can't say what they are. When she first moved to Topeka, I believe, and met her husband-to-be, Lloyd Perryman. This book here is the kind of interesting one, because this has a bunch, I don't think she ever threw away anything from high school. So it's got all her party invitations in here. It's got lots of pictures around the school. The freshman song is written in here. Like I say, she was the class of 1923, so almost 100 years ago now. But this was kind of interesting to look to. There's a picture of all the juniors that year, and then there's newspaper clippings of the junior play, the junior-senior banquet. There's the track team from 1922, alumni banquet program from 1922, the place cards, the place markers and name tags and things, commencement programs, 22 and 23, and party invitations here, and thank you notes and things. All this was saved and put in this book. There's pictures. There's party favors, I guess they were. Pictures of classmates. Some of them with their old cars they drove at the time. There's the whole class, the whole school, I think, of 20 and 21 in that picture, it looks like. The whole high school. And I'm not sure. Some other neat pictures in here. There's the football team from 1922. They got a trophy. It says they were the county champions that year, 1922. So I don't know any names of these guys, but they look pretty serious in the picture anyway. Got their game face on. Anyway, here's graduation announcements, it looks like. And then it goes on to Some of them when my grandpa went up to K-State. Then right after that, there's some pictures of around Manhattan and things there. There's my Aunt Eula's scores from high school. Date of graduation has her percentages of all her subjects in there. And ticket stubs from a track meet and high school music contest and things. All that from way back when. There's the Osage County champions of something in 1924. Maybe that must be basketball uniforms at the time. I can't tell for sure. So anyway, that was kind of a treasure trove of stuff I found here. I didn't know that Aunt Eula had kept all this stuff, but when I cleaned out her house, it went in a box and went into Dad's basement and never to be bothered again until I went through it all. So that is most of what I had. We also got there was some other special sections out of the newspaper. Some from the bicentennial in 1976. I think there's a wagon train that came through, and there's stuff about that. There's also some stuff from I've got a plate here. You hand me that plate from the Overbrook Centennial in 1986. I think there's some clippings about that. And then there's also some things about the Kansas Centennial in 1860 or 1961. I know that's in some of this stuff somewhere. I didn't pull it out, but anyway, that's a lot of it. There's more than that. I've got a whole stack of yearbooks from the Overbrook, ranging from the 20s to the early 60s. I think not every one, but several scattered through there. Oh, this is an old paint set that somebody's watercolors from way back when. I don't know what year. A long time ago they look like. And then I think this was all of Dad's ribbons from showing in 4-H and FFA and the state fair and things. I didn't go through them all, but some of them from Overbrook Fair right on top here, but I'm sure it's way more inclusive than that. There's one County Feeders Day, but anyway, there's a whole stack of ribbons in there, and I had some other things from his time in FFA. They went around and showed cattle all over. So anyway, that like I say, that's not. There's nothing there I want to show.
This too.
No, that didn't make the cut. So anyway, that's kind of the highlights. There's more to it than that, but that gives you a flavor of what's here. And if you have a few hours, you could go through it more fully. But I kind of sorted it into piles, and this was the stuff that I thought the whole community might be interested in, because it was not really just specific to our family as much as general interest of the community. So thank you for watching.